Word on the street. FisMaz show. What's the word on the street? Like who got the beats that be killing the game? Who's up on the screen? Who playing who? What's the score on the sheet? Fiso the Prince got him taking the seat. Got the legends giving us the 411. Fiso Maz from the 031. No hating sports and entertainment when we got it on and we're the only ones. And after all that action, never have we dripping high passion. Drippy on some rich municipal stylists, soak up with passion. If it's giving us less, then we never settle. Make sure you pull up and bring all your medals. Sit back and relax, let's go. It's FisMaz bringing you the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show. It's the FisMaz show.
Hello everyone, welcome to another show. It's going to be exciting today because I tell you, Ziyakhala in South African football. Everything is happening. Players being released left, right, and center. New signings at some of the country's biggest clubs. And I thought, you know what? I need to go and get the scoop fresh from the tub. You know, you go and dig that ice cream, you go get it fresh. Yeah, you know, before it melts. That's how we want it. So I decided to go and get one of the leading football journalists in the country, Tiyani Mabasa. He's joining me today. Tiyani, welcome to the show once again. Thank you for, I guess, giving us a bit of your time. I'm asking myself as we're doing this interview, how your phone must be going crazy because everyone wants to know what's happening with the latest players that have been linked to some of our favorite clubs, and also more importantly, you know, some of the transfers that have happened that have been, I guess, mind blowing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. You know, regarding the phone, you have a lot of questions. You know, people don't want to follow the timeline; they just want you to respond to them, and it's okay. You know, I enjoy that. I enjoy the interaction, and you know, I feel we have a duty as journalists, you know, to serve the market.
You know what people do. People will say, I know Tiyani, big job. No, man, I'll get that story. They want to be exclusive. You know, I go straight to the source. Go to the timeline, man.
and you know what's the problem with that? You end up telling things that you were told not to reveal yet.
and then people will go and say, I won't tell. Hey, they're like, no, tell the next person, hey man, please don't tell, but yeah, this is happening. And it's like, oh, yo. Then the person says, I only told you.
No, but you know, the good thing is that there's interaction. I think the one thing I don't like about the media is that there's no interaction with the readers. You know, it's more like the clubs here at home, they don't interact with their fans per se, you know. The fans can be frustrated, ask a lot of questions, but they don't get the answers from the clubs. So I don't want to be a part of that sort of, situation where, you know, people ask you questions, you just keep quiet. You know, I believe that you must respond to everything. That's why I always encourage, my followers or, you know, football fans that if maybe I miss your question, just DM me as well, you know, so it can be addressed. If I don't have the answers, I'm always honest, you know, that, hey, listen, with this thing, I don't have any, information on it yet. But as soon as something comes up, you know, definitely, I'll more than be happy to engage and tell you all about it. So for me, it's very, very important. That's what makes the football space more exciting. I don't think there are many groups that are so united compared to this football group.
No, absolutely, and I mean, some really interesting times. I think we can jump straight into it in terms of what's already happened. I mean, we've already covered even in a previous show with regards to all the players that were released at Kaizer Chiefs. Of course, the latest one is Ramahlwe Mphahlele. I think maybe we can touch on him. Were you surprised to see that happening from a leadership point of view? He's someone who's been, I guess, a key part of that leadership cog. And of course, all the signings that have been made, the latest one being officially announced, being Yusuf Mart. So let's touch on those two first before we move to the other side of Soweto, because no doubt both Chiefs and Pirates fans will be eager to see how their teams go And I've got some interesting questions with regards to those particular teams, because the reason why I start with them is not because obviously they are the biggest clubs in the country. It's because I actually read a tweet the other day, and it's something that we've been saying time and time again. We need a strong Chiefs and Pirates to really push our Sundowns and to make the league a lot more exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. And your question on Ramahle, I mean, I was a bit surprised because, you know, towards the end of the season, he was playing some games, coming back, you know, but the reality, obviously, for him was that his contract was up at the end of this month. So from that point of view, maybe it's not really much of a surprise. You know, these guys have played their part at Chiefs. And it's time to refresh the squad as well. You know, I'm friends with Ramahle, and I believe that you know, you'll find another club where he can contribute. You know, one of the leaders in the game, and he must be appreciated for that. But the reality is that Kaizer Chiefs also, you know, all good things come to an end at some point. You know, and he'll be the first to admit that he's part of a group that. They haven't won anything for Kaizer Chiefs in a long time, you know. So to make changes from a management point of view, it's fair, you know, to start with other players. Maybe they can bring back the glory to Kaizer Chiefs, you know. But I think Kaizer Chiefs are doing well, and I mentioned it on Twitter as well that sorry, if you look at in the transfer space, you know, they're doing much better than the past seasons. You know, you can see the quality of signings. And they're not only waiting for free agents, like, you know, people have criticized them for that. They're actually paying money for these guys as well. You know, look at Ashley Dupree. The fans were crying for him. He's in Naturena now. You know, Yusuf Mat, another player, fans were crying for. You know, he's in Naturena now. But it's not done because fans still want Given Simango, you know, from TS Galaxy. They want to see him at Natural, and for a good reason, because he's a good player, you know, and I hope Kaizer Chiefs can make it happen for their fans, you know, to make sure that, you know, they can have a very strong team, you know. Ultimately, people expect them to compete with Mamelodi Sundowns, and if you're signing players who are not of quality, you're not going to compete with Mamelodi Sundowns. So big up to them. They're doing everything they can right now to have a strong Kaizer Chiefs like we've seen in the past. You know, the past few seasons have just not been good enough for Kaizer Chiefs.
You've mentioned something there. You've mentioned Chiefs going out and buying players, and of course that maybe is a shift from a previous model where they looked for, I guess, the best of the best in terms of free agents and paid those players well, as opposed to paying a transfer fee. What are some of the figures, you know, that have been thrown around with regards to some of the big nice signings they've made? Ashley Dupree, Yusuf Mat. Are you able to shed some light with regards to those numbers? Because I'm sure the listeners and viewers will be really interested with regards to, I guess, what are clubs spending out there?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, what I've picked up is that you know, the agreement between them and Skukune and Chiefs for Yusuf Mat was between 5 and 6 million rand. You know, and it's an international player. In this is done well for himself. And Skukune, I think they're getting good money for him. With regards to Ashley and Zita. Kwinika, you know, from Stellenbosch, apparently they paid about 13 million rand for those players. Not surprising because, I mean, if you value, you know, Ashley at 10 million rand, you know, he's a quality player who's going to do a lot for Kaizer Chiefs. And I like what you mentioned earlier, that Kaizer Chiefs, as much as they were getting free agents, they were also paying big salaries. You know, that's why Kaizer Chiefs, in the end, you know, the best paying club in the country, you know. So, you know, they still spend a lot of money, but now maybe is to say, let's not just settle for players who are free. Let's also look for players who, you know, we are forced to pay for, but we are paying for quality. And, you know, that's the Kaizer Chiefs of old, you know, the Kaizer Chiefs that used to get the best players in the country. You know, every player at the time before the shift with Sundowns coming in, with the so-called smaller clubs also coming in, players used to go to Kaizer Chiefs first before anywhere else, and then, obviously you had Pirates in the picture as well at the time. But the shift, in the transfer market has been good for South African football because from a competitive element, at least you have, teams that are not just adding to the numbers in the league, they're actually able to play against Kaizer Chiefs and beat Kaizer Chiefs. And they can also play against Mamelodi Sundowns and try their best to win the games as much as Downs have dominated. But I like that kind of shift, where we've seen, that all clubs are willing to pay. More especially Kaizer Chiefs now, they're back in it, making sure that they can pay for the players that they really, really want and not just wait for them, to become free agents.
The one question I have, and look, maybe I'm being overly critical here, but I look at some of the players that have moved around, even at Orlando Pirates, and the players that essentially go out the door. Are they upgrades on what there was there previously, or is it a case of just revamping squads, getting sometimes you don't want to keep trying with the same group of people? Is it upgrades, or is it just new bodies to appease everyone and say, okay, maybe new coach, let's start again?
No, that's a very fair question, to be honest. I mean, with Kaizer Chiefs, I think it's an upgrade. Given the players that they've brought in the team, I think they've done well. The ones they released, I don't see anyone who I can say deserve to stay. People can say maybe Dumisade Zuma, but obviously he had these off the field issues, and you can't afford to have a player like that hanging around. So maybe a different environment for him, where he can actually start afresh and make sure that he can focus on his career, because we all know he's a very good player. There's no question about that. But the reality is that if he's not focused on his job, he's not going to be able to deliver. So from the players that Chiefs have released, I think everyone there deserves to go, in my opinion. And the players that they've signed, yes, maybe some of them, will have a lot to prove. But I do believe that some names there, deserve to play for Kaizer Chiefs, like Ashley Dupree for me, definitely deserves to play for Kaizer Chiefs. Yusuf Mat as well coming in deserves to play for Kaizer Chiefs. So players like that, I applaud Kaizer Chiefs for signing them. But Pirates, I don't think what they've brought in is an upgrade. For me, Pirates have a strange way of doing things in the transfer market. If you notice over the seasons, they tend to, let go at the end of each season some good players, but who they sign may not necessarily be an upgrade. And also, you find that maybe could be a similar quality. I remember when they released Musa Nyatama, he was their player of the season, but they still released him and they signed a midfielders. And I didn't think at the time, that it was an upgrade. And right now, in my books, I'll never release Gabadino Mango to go and sign Evanga. Evanga did well for cheaper, 10 goals, but I think Gabadino Mango can give you more. So for me, that was a big surprise to see, Mango leaving, Orlando Pirates. As much as he was not really playing anymore, but I thought maybe he was going to start afresh and do well this coming season. So from a Pirates point of view, they have this tendency of releasing really, really quality players. And sometimes when you look at the replacements, you really question it. Even the other season, when they let go of Luvio Memela, as much as he had a bit of trouble with the injuries, but that guy, when he's fully fit, he comes with goals and assists. And when you look at the one who's coming in, and you're like, maybe it was better to keep Luvio. So I can go on and on, go back to Pirate seasons in terms of how they've done things, and I don't believe that in most cases it's an upgrade for Orlando Pirates. In most cases, I think Pirates sign good players. That much I can give them credit for. But the reality is, or maybe the fact is, in my books, that the end of each season, they will then release a player that you feel still has a lot to contribute at Orlando Pirates.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree. I mean, I look at that list, Nga, Mahopa, Miguel Tim. I kind of understood the Koki and Specie signings. Happy Journey
Yes,
towards the back end of his career. You've released a Tyson Tlajuayo. Gwanda Munyama just didn't work. And I get that. It's two central defenders who are leaders of a back four, who are commanding. So I understand those. But I look at Miguel Tim, good player. Don't get it. Don't make a mistake. Tabang Monare, is that Am I getting something completely out of the world with regards to that sort of a change? Mahopa, he didn't do anything amazing last season, but potential. Or are they saying potential? But a Pirates team, if you want potential, you've got Radio Pan, who's within your DSTV Disky side.
Absolutely.
So again, I always have this huge problem, with regards to South African football and just not trusting young players. I had an argument with a friend of mine the other day when Lyle Foster scored that goal for Bafana, and I said, if Foster had probably stayed at Pirates, he probably would have like 10 games that he would have played, and he would have been gone out, and he would have been ended up at Baroka or at Cape Town City or something.
Yes.
I just don't get it. A few years ago,
That's very true.
A few years ago, they had
That's very true.
They had Tiyani Mabasa, who was this apparently this really talented young player, and I just never saw him play for Pirates. Why? You trust the guys. If Radio Pan is scoring 20 plus. If Radio Pan is scoring 20 plus goals in the DSTV Disky Challenge, you're telling me you can't add some value? If Thabiso Monyane is doing so well in the DSTV Disky Challenge, do you need to go out and sign another right back? Should he not be in the mix? Those kind of things, I think, are really frustrating, because...
very, 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 very frustrating for me, and I can tell you, I doubt if I go a day without thinking about that. Every day for me, I think about that. Why is it we don't trust these young players? As much as they can prove themselves and show potential. You talk about Radio Pane, 24 goals in the Disky Challenge team. Surely it deserves his chance. It deserves his break, no question about it. And other examples, that maybe you didn't get a chance to mention. If you look at Sundowns, when they brought in Brian Onyango at center back, they had the young boy, Keegan Allen, very, very good player in my opinion. So there was no need, in my opinion, for them to go out and sign Brian Onyango, and you mentioned something, about the Pirates midfielders, like for like, do you get something better or someone better coming in that position? So for me, I always look at that as well. And that's why I question, why is a guy like Promise Mkuma not playing? Are we waiting for these players to be 23, 24, 25, before we actually give them a chance? That's why if you were to look down the line, the national team suffers in a sense that you then have a player who's 30 coming into the national team for the first time in his career. How many more years is it gonna give you in the national team coming in at 30? That's why you'll always see the national team change all the time, because on form, yes, that player comes in, maybe they're doing well at that moment. They come and then the stage is too big for them at international level. They fall by the wayside, and then you bring in someone else at the same age. You just have to envy other countries, who are introducing your 16-year-olds in their national teams or 17-year-olds. They're not scared to do that, because they know these players in the future. That's why those players in Europe, for example, you find that by age 25, that player has like 100 caps for his national team. To also, on the other hand, they also have a lot of caps from the junior teams as well. So now, how are you going to compete with these national teams when they have someone at 25 with 100 caps and you have a 30-year-old with 0 caps? How are you going to compete? You know what I'm saying? So now you meet, these players are meeting. You find that the one with 100 caps has all the experience. The one from your side coming in, they have no experience whatsoever. And then yet you still expect to compete. If we change our mindset about youngsters, a Radio Partner, for example, is going to be a big national team player. But he has to be given a chance at Orlando Pirates to become a big player there. And he has shown that he's got a lot of potential, that there's no need for them to be bringing in other players, like other strikers, while they have someone so good already in their ranks. So they have to think about that. South African clubs, give these boys a chance. That's the only way we're going to change, our national team as well, by introducing young players who, when they selected for the national team, they're going to be like 20, at most maybe 21. By the time they're 30, they've served the country so well. They're counting 100 plus caps, But in the current situation, it's not possible.
Yeah, not possible. And I mean, you've mentioned Keegan Allen. I think of another talented young defender who was at Sundowns. Tristan Moses, who had gone from Chiefs to Sundowns. Those sort of players, you feel once they within that first team setup, they'll absorb so much, and their games will. Their game will improve. But unfortunately, at times not getting those opportunities, and yeah, a lot of frustration for me because if it's one thing, if you're saying to me, again, we make an example of Pirates, if you say to me, Pepper scoring 15, 20 goals, Mabasa is scoring 10 goals, if you're saying to me those guys are, they're doing the business, fair enough. I don't think anyone can sit there and argue, but if your strikers are scoring 6 goals, 3 goals in a season, what's it going to hurt to give a youngster 15 minutes towards the back end of the game?
Absolutely.
Because you have to think now going forward, even from a financial point of view, the whole point of development, especially for clubs, is to be able to build your own players so they come through the ranks, so that essentially now you don't have to go and pay big money to sign a guy who's going to score you 20 goals. You have one there.
Yeah.
That's someone who's showing you, I can do it at this level. Therefore, with time, I can do it at another level, because they always say, especially for strikers, goal scoring is the hardest part of football, and and a classic case was Slow Poison. He came through and he did the business, but he was trusted at that time,
That's why other clubs are taking advantage of the situation, and credit to a club like SuperSport United. They take these guys and they give them a chance, and a few seasons later, someone has come through and is willing to pay 15 million. Think about the players that were given a chance at SuperSport United at a young age, and now they've moved on. The likes of Sipho Mbule, when they came through to SuperSport United, Kwanele Kopo getting them, Botebo Mukwena. Now SuperSport sold them for millions, and credit to the club, because someone else there, instead of developing their own players, they are more than willing to pay. And SuperSport are saying, let's take that opportunity to give these youngsters a chance, and then someone else is going to come through and pay. Look at the defender, the young defender, Luke, from Ubuntu. He came through a young player, and then now apparently he's talking about moving on. SuperSport are going to sell him for millions. They gave him a chance. They're getting money for being brave, and they're throwing these boys in and giving them a chance to play. If I can think about a European team doing this sort of thing, it's Salzburg. They sign players from Africa, and then the European teams, the big ones, maybe in the bigger leagues, they come running for those players. Like Patson Daka, for example, he goes to he leaves and then he joins the Leicester. You know what I mean? But it's big money for Salzburg. If you compare with what they paid for him to get him from Zambia, and compared to what they're selling him for, then they're making some big money from him. So imagine if Pirates could do the same as well. You give a radio partner a chance. Next 2 seasons, a European team will come for him. You make millions from him. You know what I mean? So you don't always have to spend. But I guess our clubs, are always willing to spend even when it's unnecessary to do so. Like I look at a team like Kaizer Chiefs. Kaizer Chiefs, at some point, they were banned from signing players. I said, but there's no need to panic. And people said to me, "You are crazy. What do you mean by that?" I said, "No. Look at the Diski Challenge team. Look at the given Tibet's of this world. They have so many players that they can easily promote there, and those players can actually pack the hole and actually do well for Kaizer Chiefs. We've seen now Dusha Balala has come through. Kaizer Chiefs still have a lot of players that they have to answer for. I mean, they had strikers that left the club that were never given a chance. Yusuf Banti, he was a top scorer in the Diski Challenge, never given a chance. Sizwe Twala was the top scorer in the Diski team, never given a chance. The likes of Harry Milans were doing well for Kaizer Chiefs, never given a chance. I can go on and on and on and on. So sometimes the signings, and you look at what they have, I say, go look at your Diski Challenge team. Diski Challenge, for me, people don't appreciate Diski Challenge. It's a big platform for talent. If the clubs can actually look very carefully without looking at the age of the player, focusing on the quality of the player, I'm telling you, they're going to realize that they don't have to be spending a lot of money signing players.
I mean, even beyond that, I mean, you made a great point there. You look at a few years back, Azita Kunika is at Kaizer Chiefs, in the development ranks. They've just paid to get him back, right? Yusuf Mart, Orlando Pirates, he's now donning the colors of Kaizer Chiefs. It shows that
imagine
good enough. It's about, and I always say this, people, especially us as older people, or people even older than us, they will say, no, he's young, I'm like, are you creating an environment for a young person to succeed? Or are you inhibiting them by saying, because straight away, any person knows when you believe in them. Any person knows when you want them to do well. But if you are an administrator and the first thing you're trying to do is prove that young players won't win you anything, then you'll get there.
Yes. Absolutely. You just have to give them a chance. That's all, and I can give you another classic example. Even though we're not talking about a young player in this case. I mean, the late Senzo Meyiwa. If Roger Disa didn't come through there for him, who knows what would have happened? Today would be talking, maybe wouldn't be so hard and talking about Senzo every day if he was never given a chance. Because say maybe at the time of his death, he had not been given a chance, he would have played maybe 20 games for Pirates, and who was going to remember him today? The reason we talk about him today is because of the impact that he made at the club, but he needed someone to believe in him, to say, boy, this is your chance, take your chance. Senzo used to be given one game. If he concedes, then he's out. And they used to talk about it all the time, that's the problem, because now it kills my confidence. Obviously, some of these things, you'll say them off the record, just chatting to him like brother to brother. You'll say, man, I just need to be given a few games in a row. That's all I need. Because now if I come in, I concede a goal, you take me out, you kill my confidence. And I understood where he was coming from. And Roger Disa came and he said, Senzo, you are going to play 5 games in a row without being taken out. This is your chance, prove yourself. 5 games, Senzo never went out. Even in the national team, once he got his chance, he was even captain of the national team. And I'm saying, what if Roger Disa never gave him his chance? What if Roger Disa said, no, well, let me just continue with Monip Josephs, would never have seen Senzo Meyiwa at his best. So it's the same. We've lost so many good players, and yet we wonder why we're not able to compete, with the rest of the world. I mean, at Pirates, for example, they used to have excellent Walaza, good striker, young player, got a chance there and there, and then, then it disappeared. Where is he today? I think Excellent was born in '87. So he's 32 now, but he's been retired for how long? Forced retirement, because people just don't want to give youngsters a chance. And I can go on and on about these young players who just keep disappearing. Like right now, if maybe you were to look at the Diski Challenge at Sundowns and maybe go back to the lineups, and I'm glad, the Acid Lally people actually provide the lineups, they put them there for us to see. If you were to browse back, check the Sundowns team, and tell me where they are. There was a boy there, midfielder called Botle Mpodolon, great player, but where is he today? Probably around 24 now. Maybe with football, he's saying to himself, no, I don't want to be associated with football anymore. I don't want anything to do with football. And once they fall out of out of love with the game, that's it. You can't bring them back. Those are small things that we don't pay attention to. I remember a story about Jomo Sono going to a football field in El Dorado Park, I think, and there he was going to watch some youngsters playing. Jomo being Jomo, always looking for talent, and apparently he found these boys playing in a bigger field like FNB Stadium. But now you're talking about 6, 7-year-olds, and he asked them, on a ground like this, when are these boys going to touch the ball? You pass a ball to one, the other one will take 15, 20 minutes to touch the ball again. Those are things that we don't pay attention to in South African football. That's why these young boys, they fall out of love with the game. You find the best players would rather be working a 9-to-5 job than pursuing a career, because they know that they're not going to get their chance. They're not going to enjoy this game. So what's the point of them playing it in the first place?
Yo, hi. Zakala. Look, we've got 6 minutes to the show, and there's still so much I was hoping to touch on. Zungu, they've been so busy. Some teams keeping a bit quiet, but I think in these last 6 minutes, the one thing I want to touch on is probably just the rumblings around two really big players, Ronwen Williams, Bongani Zungu.
Yes.
What's the latest with those two? Could we see them, or especially Rowan, could we see him moving? Ronwen, I mean. And Zungu, what's his story?
Yeah, no,
maybe just shed some light for us.
Yeah, no, definitely. With Bongani here at home, he mentioned that his agent has spoken to Mamelodi Sundowns. That's the only team that they've spoken to here at home. As much as Kaizer Chiefs fans at some point wanted him, to come through, but the thing is, they, they didn't understand that the only club at that point that had spoken to him through his agent was Mamelodi Sundowns. And if he goes back to Mamelodi Sundowns, it won't be a surprise for me at all. He also mentioned that while he was in Europe, he once met with the president of the club, or the then president of the club, Mr. Patrice Motsepe. And he said, if you come back home, Mamelodi Sundowns is your home. Come back to us if you're coming back home. So I won't be surprised if he joins Mamelodi Sundowns. But
how many midfielders do they want?
They take everything.
Yeah, man, you've got all these guys that can't even get a sniff there.
You know what their argument will be, that they're competing in Africa, but also we know that they want the best to themselves. So locally, they're the best team in terms of the quality of players that they have. They don't want to go seasons without winning any trophies. They want to dominate and dominate and dominate. But we'll see. Ronwen Williams, Pirates have always wanted him. And to be fair to the CEO at SuperSport United, Mr. Stanley Matthews, he's an open book. If you talk to him and you say, I want to leave, it's time for me, he won't close the door for you. And he's always said, if the club feels you've given everything you can to the club, we are more than happy to open the door for you to move to other clubs. And it's done well. Like Utebo Mukwena, for example. When I went to them some time back and he said, no, I have to move. And he said to him, listen, if we feel at some point that you deserve your move, we'll let you go, no problem. And he fulfilled that promise, It's the same with Ronwen. He's mentioned that Ronwen has done everything he can for the club. We've all seen that over the years. And he's saying that Ronwen, with our blessings, you are free to move on. So Pirates are in the picture. Mamelodi Sundowns are in the picture as well. So those two clubs, if he moves, is going there. But there was also a mention of the MLS in the US, that there was a club that was after Ronwen. So that's also a possibility for him. So if it happens, it shouldn't surprise our listeners at the moment. So Ronwen, I think in the end is going to move. So those are two big names that I expect that by the close of the transfer window they would have made their moves. Yes.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see where those players do end up. I think Zungu, Sundowns, and you
don't like that idea.
No, look, it's. I understand. Go back home. I get it. But it's the same thing when I saw Sipa Mbula going to Sundowns. I just thought, oh man, he would have looked great in a Chiefs kit. And for anyone who knows me knows I'm not a Chiefs fan. But I was thinking South African football. I was thinking the excitement it would bring when you see those sorts of matchups. When you see, young players being able to compete at the highest level, it would have been really interesting. But unfortunately, not to be. Like they say in life, you can't always get your way. So I guess we'll have to see what the future holds. But yeah, I think it wraps it for today. We'll see what happens in the next few days, in the next few weeks until the window shuts. And maybe we'll tap you up again just to get involved with us. But yeah, I really appreciate your time, brother.
No, anytime, boss. The thing is, there's so much that's still going to happen, with our clubs, movement, players leaving, players coming in. I can assure you that, there's still a lot that we're going to talk about. There's still a lot that's still going to happen. With regards to movements, it's going to be exciting. One of those exciting seasons has started very well. I think it's going to finish very well as well.
All right, it's a wrap for the FisMaz show. Thank you very much to Tiyani for joining us. See you next time. Make sure that you're following the show, you're liking the show, and you are getting involved with regards to all of our social media interactions. Bye-bye. See you soon.